Good morning and welcome to another week of maths. So we have now officially covered every single thing on the Year 6 curriculum. So it is now really, really important that we revise things, we make sure we are really confident with things so that we are ready to go up to secondary. Okay, so we're going to be going over topics that you might remember, you might not remember so much, and we're going to be looking at applying things in different ways and just making sure that all your basic math skills are up to scratch and ready for going on to secondary next year. So we're going to start with 3 days of coordinates, reflections, translations, missing values, and some problem solving around that. And then Thursday, Friday, we're going to be looking at nets of 3D shapes. So we're going to be doing 3 days of one topic, 2 days of the other. Right, let's get started. Okay then, so before we start our rewind sessions on reflections and translations, I want us to quickly have a little rewind about coordinates. So, question A, what are the coordinates of the points on the grid? So what are the coordinates of point A, B, C and D? And then where would E, F, G and H go using those coordinates there? Remember, you go along the x-axis first of all and then up or down the y-axis. And remember, we've got 4 quadrants on this question, so some of them will have negative numbers. So you go along first and then up or down. Okay, have a go. Pause the video and then we'll go through the answers. Okay then, answer time. So, it's always nice and easy to start in the middle at 0, 0. Remember, this way is positive, this way is going to be into the negative numbers. So, for point A, we need to go along to -3, and then we go up and across the y-axis to the number 2. So, I would write this as a coordinate, so we always do ooh, that's not a bracket. Let's try that again. So we're always going to do bracket, and then you do your x coordinate first, which was -3, comma, and then my y coordinate was +2, but we can just put a 2. End bracket. So that should be your answer for A. Right, B. So again, start in the middle. Go along. So I've gone along 3. So 3 is my x-axis. And I've gone up, 3 as well. And because this is in this right-hand top quadrant, both the numbers are positive. C then, I'm going to start at 0. I'm going to go along -1. So -1 is my x-coordinate, and y would be -2. And then for D, last one, I would go along 4. So 4 would be my x-coordinate, and then I go down -2 for my y-coordinate. Well done if you got those right. And here are the answers for E, F, G and H. So -3, -2 for E, you would go along -3, down -2. For F, you would go along and it's +2, and then you'd go down because it's -1 for the y-coordinate. For G, you go -1 on the x-axis first of all, and then up 3, because it's +3 for the y-axis. For H is -3 for the x-axis, so you find -3. And then for the y-axis, the coordinate is 0. So that means you do not move and it stays on the x-axis. Right, brilliant, well done. Lovely. So here is our discover for today. So we have got a shape. It's got 4 sides. So it's called a quadrilateral, and it's an irregular quadrilateral because the sides are not the same length, the angles are not the same length. Same size, sorry. So I've got 1A and 1B. And this is all about reflection and translation. So I want you to just take a minute and pause. What is the difference between reflecting something and translating something? Well, when we translate something, we pick it up and we move it. Okay, the shape does not change, the size does not change, the rotation does not change. We just pick it up and we move it somewhere else on that quadrant or in that grid. So that's translation. When we reflect something, we kind of put an invisible mirror line down. So if you went and looked in the mirror now, you would see yourself, but you would see a mirror image of yourself. If you went and held up some writing in the mirror, that writing would appear backwards because it's the mirror image of it, okay? It's the reflection of it. So when we reflect a shape, and we reflect a shape either in an x-axis or a y-axis or sometimes on a diagonal line, you are moving that shape, you're kind of flipping it over onto the other side. So it's kind of the opposite direction. It's the mirror image, it's the reflection of that shape. So 1A, where would Olivia draw the shape if it was reflected in the x-axis? So your x-axis is your mirror line, and you're going to kind of flip the shape over onto the other side of the x-axis, remembering to make sure it's the same distance away from the x-axis on both sides. B, where would Olivia draw the shape if her shape was translated 4 left and 5 down? So for translation, we just pick it up and move it. So we're going to move it 4 squares to the left and 5 squares down. So do point A first, then you can do point B, C and D. Okay, pause the video, have a go at those. Okay then, answer time. So we needed to reflect the shape in the x-axis. That means we use the x-axis as the mirror line. So that means that point A was 3 squares away from the x-axis. So when we reflect it, it needs to be 3 squares away again, but on the same point on the x-axis, so still with the coordinate of 1, but then rather than being +3 as the y-axis, it's now -3, and that's point E. From there, you've then got 2 options. You can either reflect every point individually and then line it up, or, and this might be a little bit trickier, you can look at the original relationship between A and B. So I can see point A to point B is 2 squares across. So then when I've reflected point A and I've got point E, I then can draw a line 2 squares across, and then I've got point F. I would probably reflect point C and point D separately because they're not as easy to figure out because they're on diagonals, okay? So that's hopefully what your new shape should look like. And for B then, so we needed to move the whole shape 4 left and 5 down. So again, I would do this 1 point at a time. So if you start at point A, 4 grids, 4 squares along to the left, and then 5 down. You should also be able to see that if we started off as the x coordinate being 1, if we take away 4, 1 take away 4 would be -3, which is what the x coordinate would be of our new point for point A, or E as it's labelled on the diagram. And if we're moving it 5 down, well, we started at +3, we're moving 5 squares down, 3 take away 5 is -2. And you can see that that is the y coordinate for point E. So I would do this for every coordinate, redraw your shape, and it should look a bit like this. Well done. Okay then, think together time. So, first question is translate. So remember, when we translate, we just pick it up and move it. The shape does not change. Translate shape D 2 units to the right and 3 units up. Then B, look at the diagram. Shape F has been translated how many spaces to how many units, how many squares right or left, and how many up or down. So you're going from shape F to shape G. Have a go. Answer time then. So you needed to translate shape D 2 units to the right and 3 units up. So choose a point and then move 2 to the right, 3 up, plot that point, go to the next point, 2 across, 3 up, plot that point, next one, and you should end up with something that looks just like E. So with this one, the translation's happened already and you need to describe the translation. So again, pick a point. So I'm going to pick the bottom right-hand corner, the one that's at 5, 1. And I'm going to see what's happened to get that point from 5, 1 all the way down to 7, -4. So I'm going to the right, 1, 2, and then I'm going down 1 to get to the x-axis, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can say shape F has been translated 2 right and 5 down to become shape G. Super. Okay, here is now a reflection question. So, can you complete the reflections? I know it's tricky to do this without the questions, so it is on Dojo, or you can just do it on the screen, or you can just kind of sketch where you think it would be. Okay, that's absolutely fine. I know this is a bit tricky to do without the worksheets. So can you reflect shape A in the x-axis, shape B in the x-axis, but then shape C in the y-axis? So think about where that means your mirror line will be. Pause video, have a go. Okay, answer time then. So we are reflecting shape A in the x-axis. So I need to make sure that I know where that is. So I've done it in red here so you can see it. So this is the x-axis. This is what I'm reflecting my shape across. So my shape will come across here, it will come down here. So I can see that this point here is 2 squares, 2 units away from the x-axis. So I need to make sure that it's 2 units away here. So I'll get a pen and I'll mark that on. So 2 units away here as well. There we go. Because think about it, if you were in the mirror, your reflection is as far away from the mirror, it appears on the other side, as you are. If you're close to the mirror, your reflection's close to the mirror, and it's the same thing here. So this point is 2 away. So let's make it 1, 2 away. Ooh, there we go. I know it's a bit confusing because the negative numbers kind of hide part of the grid, but think about it. If it's positive 2 here, it's going to be negative 2 in the reflection. So it's going to have a -5 coordinate at the middle point, and it's positive 4 on this side, which means it's 4 squares away. So 4 squares away here is going to be -4. There we go. And then if I perfectly line them up with a ruler, look at that. There we go. There is my reflection. And I would label this, I'm going to label it as D. Okay, so you could just label that as D. Right, next one over here then. So same thing applies. So we're now reflecting shape B and still in the x-axis. So we're still reflecting it across here. So this point here is 2 squares away. So 2 squares away, so -2. This was positive 4, so now it's going to be -4. This was 7, 2, so now it's going to be 7 -2. And this point was 7 across and 4 up, so it's going to be 7 across and -4 down. And then you would draw those together, join them up with a ruler. Lovely. Okay then, we need to reflect shape C in the y-axis. So that's why I've got my red line here, because this is the mirror line this time. So rather than the shape reflecting this way, it's now going to reflect this way, okay? So it's going on to the other side. So exactly the same thing. This point here was 1 -1. Well, now it's going to be -1, -1, same distance away from the mirror line. It was 3 -1, so now it's going to be -3. -1. This point here was 1 -3. So now it's going to be -1, -3. And this point here was 3 -3. So now it's going to be -3, -3. And then, obviously much straighter than mine. It's very hard to do this on a computer. You would draw the lines up. And there we go. Well done. Okay, well done today. Hopefully that was a whistle-stop tour and it hopefully reminded you of reflection and translation and coordinates. And actually, hopefully it showed you it's really quite easy. So you've got 2 challenges that you can have a go at, or you can just choose one. If you would like more practice at translation, you can have a go at Hegarty 637. If you would like more practice at reflection, it's Hegarty 639. Right, well done for today. Tomorrow it is going to get a bit harder, but we can manage that, okay? Right, see you tomorrow. Bye.